The first thing I wanted to talk to you about was how you didn't end up getting into the clutches of Morris Levy when you came to America.
We did.
But I thought you escaped.
We did. Here's what happened. Morris Levy, who was, of course, the president of Roulette Records here in New York, invited the Hollies to come and play at the Easter show in 1965 at the Paramount Theater in New York in Times Square. And we did. We were always writing, we always had songs and stuff, and so we wanted to put some down as a demo that we'd done some in New York and some just before we got there. We had like 12, 15 songs we wanted to get down before we forgot them, right? So they had a studio there in his office up in the upper 50s, and we did about 15 songs, and Morris said, I offer you $75,000 for your publishing. And, in 1965, that was a lot of money. And also, with Morris's reputation, it was hard to say no. But I think we were smart enough to realize that our publishing might be worth a little more than that. And so that's how we escaped.
But you knew his reputation going in. You were not like just naive kids coming over to America.
No, we'd heard all the stories about Morris, and especially about the rumor, the alleged rumor that he hung somebody out the window by his heels when he refused to sign a contract. Needless to say, they were 30 floors up in the air.
And then the story goes that he took you to dinner, and to impress you, he brought a belly dancer, and that's where Stop comes from?
Morris Levy did not bring the belly dancer to the Round Table, which was the name of the restaurant. It was one of those dark red leather booths, but as part of the restaurant, there was a belly dancer. And when she did her stuff, especially around the faces of these two young kids, me and Alan Clark with our buddies who had formed the Hollies. I mean, we were straight from Manchester. I mean, come on. And there's this beautiful, woman in next to nothing, shaking everything that she has in front of us. That's where the song Stop, Stop, Stop came from.
Well, today, I don't think guys would tell her to stop. What's the deal with that?
Because we were getting into trouble. I mean, we were reacting to her like red-blooded English people,
okay.
And so we were staring, and so we weren't doing anything inappropriate. But please stop shaking like this. This is almost too much to handle.
And how did you end up on Imperial Records, which in America is not
I'm not sure how we did that.
You had a manager who...
We had managers who did things, and I'm not sure how we ended up on Imperial Records. I'm not even sure how we ended up on Epic, probably because of our, relationship with CBS.
Yeah, but you had a relationship with CBS before you signed with Epic, or?
God.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, and it's 50 odd years ago.
I know, that's frightening. It's frightening, it's that long. But your first record, at least the first record that came out in America, said that you were a songwriter, that was your hobby. That's what it said.
Is that what he said? My hobby was songwriting?
It said your hobby was songwriting. And yet all the songs on that record were covers.
Yes.
So why was that? You didn't want to turn your hobby into a business?
You keep asking me stuff where I'm supposed to know what happened, 50 or 60 years ago
I don't want to ask
back office of some manager's place. What? We made records, we sold a lot of records, end of story.
Oh, so it wasn't like that the group didn't want the original songs to be recorded first? They wanted to play it safe?
No,
you weren't that bright?
Not
well, you
at all.
became bright, obviously.
Yes, we did, especially when we found out that, to every A-side of a single, there was a B-side stuck that made, almost as much money as the A-side. And once we discovered that, we thought, well, wait, we can write little funny songs and put them on a B-side, who's going to know?
And so what was the first song that you wrote? Do you remember that got actually recorded and published? And
I do.
Okay, so that one you remember. See, that you remember.
Yeah, I do, because it was the first song that Alan and I ever wrote, and we wrote it on a park bench opposite Regent Road Baths in Manchester, and it was a song called "Hey, What's Wrong with Me." Don't start asking those questions about why it was called that.
Was something wrong with one of you?
Of course, there's always something wrong with one of us, even in the band I'm in today.
But that the two of you made a lot of great music Monday night. But
I think Alan Clark is one of the most underrated lead singers of any band from the British Invasion.
Yeah. I liked the Hollies after you left, too. That's okay, right?
It is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the audacity to have a couple of #1 records after I left,
Yeah.
But I wasn't doing so bad.
Was it a bitter parting or just painful? Sorry, it was painful. But...
It was painful, but it was personal. Alan Clark had been my best friend since I was 6 years old. And I did feel a little guilty and a little sad leaving him. But it was overwhelmed by what my soul had heard when David and Stephen and I first sang together.
So you had already done that.
I'd already done
Well,
that.
yeah, well, so that explains that.
Yes, it does.
And where was that? Was it at someone's house?
Where was what?
Where you first sang together?
Oh yeah, Joni Mitchell's kitchen.
Oh.
I'd come from Los Angeles from London to Los Angeles to be with Joan, and I got a cab at the airport and pulled into her house in Laurel Canyon, and there were other people there, which kind of was a little off-putting. I wasn't expecting that, but when I went in the house, it was David and Stephen, and they had dinner with
He had
Joan.
already produced her first record by that point?
He had, yes. Yeah. David had produced Joni's first record. And so, after dinner we smoked a big one, and David said to Stephen, play Willie that song that we just was working out the 2-part harmony to. And it was a song called You Don't Have to Cry by Stephen. Brilliant song.
Yeah.
So they sang it, and I said, wow, what a song. Incredible, really. That's a great song. Sing it again. And they looked at each other and they shrugged and sang it again. And then when they got to the end of the second one, I said, okay, just bear with me here. I'm English, I've just come from all that way, just bear with me. Sing it one more time. And in the first two performances that they'd done, I'd learned all my words, my melody, my harmony,
Really?
the body language, who was breathing, who was stopping his breath at what point in any line. I'm good at what I do.
You must be good at that, but even after smoking a big one, that's impressive.
It may be impressive, but it's the absolute truth.
And then you sang with them the third time.
And the sound that Crosby, Stills and Nash has vocally was born in a minute.
Wow! And everybody knew it.
Well, there were only 4 people. There were only me, David, and Stephen and Joni. But
That's
we all
enough.
knew it.
That's enough, right?
We knew it.
Wow.
I asked Joni later, what her memories were of that night, and she said that was an incredible night musically for her, because Joni's always been one of the boys in a way. I mean, not in a sexual way,
Right,
but
right.
she was always hanging out with the 3 of us, right? She was, and I was living with her, and so she was one of the boys, and she always wanted to be in the band.
Let's just ignore that.
I wouldn't ignore that because that's going straight into the microphone.
I know. I'll just
All right,
dismiss
now
it.
it's off.
Okay.
Now you can ignore
Yeah.
it.
We also my wife this time. That's a whole other story. So, how is she doing? Do you know how Joni's doing now?
Well, Joni did go through incredible time there, but she is getting better slowly every day. She has a great team of people working with her. She has our friend Leslie Morris taking care of her, who's known me and Joni for 45 years.
Wow.
So she's in good hands, and it is slow, but she is making good progress.
Oh, that's good. So to change the subject, you were also a photographer, a well-regarded photographer. So is there a connection between the visual arts and music and what you do in both of these fields?
There is a connection.
And what could you describe that?
I can. I see the world and the world of creation as a column of energy with everything in between this column, from photography to painting to music, all of it, all swimming in this column. Where do I want to plug in today? That's how I look at it all. It's just energy. And I look at famous photographs like Moonrise over Hernandez by Ansel Adams, and I can imagine cellos in the dark.
Yes, I'm saying you hear that. You hear the picture.
I can hear the picture, yeah. And I can see the music. I mean, that sounds very strange, but it actually is true.
Well, it must be, because your pictures that I've seen are amazing. So, tell the story about how you met Graham Gould when it had those couple hits, because you started the concert Monday night with Bus Stop.
Yes, I did.
And I thought that the sequence of songs that you started with was really interesting, because you sort of worked up to the new album as opposed to hitting people with it at first. Do you feel that your audience that's been with you for a long time needs to be sort of have their hand held to?
I like them to be comfortable, and it seems to me that when I start with Bus Stop, they're all they all look relaxed and they all are smiling and they're all comfortable.
1 second.
Here's what happened with Bus Stop. We had the Hollies had a manager, Michael Cohen. He owned the Toggery, which was a clothing store, which I used to work at, actually. And he came to me one day and he says, I have this neighbor and she's driving me crazy. She says she has this son that writes songs. Do me a favor. Let me take you to her house, pat the guy on the head, and then, wish him well and let's leave. But please get her off my back. So we went. And we'd had a couple of hits, so we were the Hollies. We're kind of full of ourselves, And we go, okay, kid, your mum says that you're a good writer. What have you got? So he picks up his guitar and he goes, well, I had this song. It goes like this. Bus stop, wet day, she's there. And he gets halfway into, the verse, and me and Alan and Tony look at each other and go, holy Toledo, that's a great song. We could kill that
You knew
song.
right away.
We knew right away.
Yeah.
And so we asked him if we could have it, and he said, yeah. And then, we're about to leave, and we go, well, wait a second. Anything else?
Good idea.
Well, I have this song that goes like this. Look through any window, yeah, what do you see? Can we have that one too? Absolutely. Fantastic. All right, one more time. Anything else? We got to get out of here. He said, well, I wrote this song this morning from my friend Peter Noon, who's this new singer with Herman's Hermits called No Milk Today. That was Graham Goulman.
Yeah, wow. And no more after that for you?
Not for us. I mean, he joined 10cc,
10cc.
And wanted his own songs for his own band, of course.
Yeah, and that was quite a good group too, 10cc. Very.
No kidding. Yeah.
I interviewed them once, way back in the 70s, and they called themselves Four Yids and a Yod, which I thought was very funny. So let's see. Let me see what else I got going here. So your voice has remained remarkably the same. It's very supple. I mean, you may have a different opinion of that because you know it better than anybody. But I was amazed by your range is all there, and it's still so.
I'm a lucky man, Michael. The truth is, I don't do anything to help it. I warm up a little before each show, gargle, just to get.
But no special
Not at
potions
all.
or. Do you have a vocal coach that you work with?
Oh yeah, I have 3 or 4. Yeah. No.
No. You don't?
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah. That's.
I don't like teachers. I don't like golf teachers because the first thing they do is undo everything you know. And if I went to a vocal coach, they say, well, you can't sing like that, even though I've been making hit records for 40 years.
Right.
It's like, nah, I'm all right. Don't worry.
I have the same attitude, but I haven't learned too much. You've learned it.
I try and learn every day.
So, playing a smaller venue like the musical, is that more interesting to you or more satisfying than playing the big stadiums?
Playing a smaller place is much more satisfying to me personally. I mean, obviously CSN and CSN&Y have played in front of a lot of people in their life.
Yeah.
But we prefer smaller halls where you can see the eyes of the people that are enjoying the music and make true contact. True connection between me and my audience.
Yeah, and
when we're stripping all the songs down to their very essence of how we wrote them,
yeah.
You've either got a good song or you don't.
Well,
and you can learn really fast.
I thought the two of you together just filled the place, and the songs didn't sound skeletal at all. Even when you said, "Imagine the rock band behind me," and I tried to, and I sort of did, and then I said, "But why? I don't need to."
It's interesting because a lot of people are saying that same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and I'm enjoying being on my own. I'm normally the one that wants, equal amount of songs from everybody and everybody in good shape and let's do the best we can. I'm that kind of guy, right? And wow, look at what I've done in my life. And I think I've only just begun.
Well, that's what you're saying in the songs on this record.
That's right.
I mean, you said it basically. You don't want to be a captive of your memories and of your past. You want to move forward.
Always.
Right. That's always a good thing.
Yeah. And the question haunting me is my future just my past?
Right. Well, but your past is so wonderful. I think.
I know, but I still want
people
to
had a
go.
lousy past and try to move past it.
Yeah,
They're the ones saying that.
I've had an incredible past. And, I realized that when I was writing my autobiography, Wild Tales.
Yeah.
I realized, looking back, I've had an incredible life, and I've been incredibly lucky to be in incredible musical moments. you know, I first met the Beatles in 1959, right?
Wow.
You know, to all the way to being at the, you know, All You Need Is Love session at Abbey Road, you know,
Yeah.
and everything in between with all the great music people, you know, Dylan and Hendrix and Joni. I've been an incredibly lucky boy.
Did you just sort of step into it and waltz through it, or were
That's right.
there were no hardships, no brick walls in front of you?
There's always brick walls in front of everybody.
Good.
But you either see
Happy
them,
to hear that.
well, you either see them there or you don't.
Yeah,
And I choose not to. I just walked into my life. I don't plan my life. My life runs me.
yeah.
And I like it that way. I'm not in control of this. Things happen to me, and
Yeah.
they're all great things.
That's good. I have
Yeah.
to say, I've had the same experience, believe it or not. But we're not here to talk about me. Although I always love talking about myself. But anyway, so I was telling you that I have a friend who is a Tea Party activist. He's works for the most far right. I mean, you can't imagine. And I met him through what I do. He's a vinyl person, and he bought me that box set. And
He bought you. Wait, this Tea Party guy bought you a CSN&Y
Yes,
box
yes,
set?
he did, because I went down to Washington and set up his turntable a couple of times. I'm an expert
Is that right?
internationally renowned. That's one of the things that I do.
You know, I just went to CES in Las Vegas.
I know.
It was astounding.
I want to talk about that with you, too.
Sure.
But anyway, so I find that a person who is at that side of the political spectrum can enjoy music made by people that he knows have the exact opposite. I'm impressed by that.
Yeah, I'm impressed by that too. A Tea Party guy and CSN&Y.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that thing that we did with the with the 2006 tour of Living with War that CSN did
Yeah.
with Neil. There were people, about 10% of people walked out of the show every night.
They couldn't
But
handle it. Couldn't handle it.
Well, the truth is, they didn't walk out until we did a song called "Let's Impeach the President for Lying."
Right.
You know, they stood for the first 2.5 hours of the show. And the point is, Michael, if you buy a ticket to a Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young concert, what do you expect?
Exactly. Exactly. But they couldn't handle it.
They couldn't handle
Just like they couldn't.
And you know what? I seriously would like to talk to every single person that walked out and ask them what they think of George Bush now.
Yeah. Well, they tried to resurrect him the other day. You know, I'll give Trump credit for something. At least when Jeb Bush said he kept us safe, Trump said, "What are you talking about? The towers came down in front of me. He was there."
That's right. Yeah. I mean, they're spinning history, but, you know, I mean, history will prove that the George W. Bush presidency was a complete disaster.
Yeah, and I think Obama's presidency will be seen as a very good presidency, despite.
And he did it with incredible opposition from
right.
day one from
That's
the
right.
Republicans.
That's exactly right. Well, I'm glad we agree about that. So, when you put together this box set, and you had to listen to, I don't know how many hours of tape, there must have been some moments that were not comfortable to listen to?
Absolutely.
What was that like, listening back to those things?
It was sad, and in particular, in one particular case of one song, and it's one of my favorite Stephen Still songs, "Carry On." In the recording that we did for the 74 tour, we multi-tracked 9 shows. And so I knew that there was a great... I knew that we'd played great. You know, what happened is this. When we got to the end of the tour, the last show was at Wembley Stadium in London. The next day, we saw that show. It was being filmed by Stanley Dorfman at the BBC. Right. We saw that show. We didn't like it. So we kind of blocked it and said, no, it's never coming out. No, it'll never be a record. But I know, and I knew that we had played well many, many times. And so my job was to dig through all the stuff that's uncomfortable, because there was some out-of-tune stuff that's uncomfortable. Sure. And in the case of Carry On, I couldn't find a performance that killed me, which I wanted for every other song on the record. Me and Joel Bernstein and Stanley Johnson wanted the best performance of every song.
Right.
You know, and I couldn't find a great performance of Carry On, and that was a sad thing. But majority of the music was great, and I'll tell you this, I think that people will realize when they listen to this that the Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young was a great rock and roll band.
Oh, of course. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So now, when you had those multi-track tapes, you had to mix them down. So you picked the songs you wanted, and then you didn't mix the whole thing down, you mixed just those songs that you chose.
Yes. And alternatives, of course. But here was the problem. My main technical problem in producing the record was that I needed you to feel as if you were sitting in the middle of the 8th row, constantly.
With no change,
With no
the
change.
illusion of it being one concert.
That's right.
That's impossible.
I know it's impossible, but we did it. Because we took great care. Because every one of those 9 multi-tracks was recorded in a different place.
Of course.
You know, outdoors, indoors, big, small, yeah, right. You
And
know,
the microphones were in different...
Echoes are different.
Of course.
Everything's different, right? So my job was to make you feel as if you were just at one concert.
Did you really feel that was necessary, as opposed
Yes,
to
I
making
did.
people feel like they were traveling around the world with you? That could have been another perspective on it.
No, I don't think people are like that. I think once they hear something that they like, they want to relax and enjoy it.
You know, and it came out sounding very good,
I know.
very wonderful. Now, did you mix it? You mixed it down to digital. You didn't mix it down to analog tape, right?
What have we been doing now? And since the D to A and the A to D converters are getting so great now,
Took 40 years, I'll say.
I know we can make digital sound like analog. And so what we do is we do it digitally, but we always make a 30-inch, a half-inch copy on
Oh, you
tape.
do?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
of every album. Oh,
So
yeah.
those exist.
Of course,
And this new record that you did, how was that recorded? At
same way,
Village Recorders.
same way, same studio that me
Great-
and David
great
did.
studio. A
Win
great
on the Water. We did Win on the Water in 1975 there. So Village Recorders in Santa Monica in Los
Sure,
Angeles
I've been there.
is a great studio.
Yeah.
Really.
I know.
And
It's your comfort zone is to record there.
sorry,
It's your comfort zone to record there.
I'm comfortable anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't go anywhere I'm not comfortable.
You seem
What's
like a
the
very
point?
comfortable person, I have to say.
I want to be comfortable. Who doesn't?
I do too, but I can't manage it usually. So
So this pack tonight was done digitally and copied to tape, of course. Yeah.
after it was recorded digitally,
Yes.
because that gives it warms it up.
Like I said, the converters of digital to analog
Yeah.
and analog to digital are now much better than they were years ago. And it's very possible that you can approximate the warmth of analog, yes.
And so the record that's going to come out, that was obviously sourced from a digital file.
Yes.
Do you know what the resolution of the file was? Because my
do.
readers, that's the kind of stuff they like to
Yeah,
know.
it's 2498.
Oh, good. Good. So it was high res.
Now, the CSN&Y was 24192 because I'd already mixed about 9 songs. I was already into it.
Oh,
Then Neil called.
that's another story. So,
Hey, Willie,
Did
what
he-
res are you doing it at, man?
all right, that's good.
I'm doing it at 2498. Well, man.
96, yeah.
96, excuse me. We need to do it at 192. I said, well, with all due respect, Neil, some of the software that we're using can't handle the files of that size. You know, and it's also, you slow down everything by a lot when the file is twice the size.
That's right.
It takes twice as long to load, twice as long to la 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 la. But we did it.
You did it.
Yeah.
You acceded to his wishes.
Yep.
Is that based upon years of working with him, where you realized it would not
No,
be?
I like people when they're right.
Yeah.
And I argue with people when I think they're wrong. But in this particular case, Neil was perfectly correct.
Yeah.
Because I said, okay, prove it to me. Let's go. Let's go in the studio. You play me a 2496 and then play me a 24192 and see if I can hear the difference.
And you could.
I swear to God, I could hear the difference.
That doesn't surprise me.
Absolutely.
In fact-
Neil Young is an incredibly great musician.
Oh, I know, and makes incredibly great sounding records too. And there's MTV did a video in 1992 about analog versus digital, and so there are 3 or 4 people in that video. There's Peter Gabriel, there's Neil, and there's me. I was honored to be in that
Nice
company.
trio.
Yeah, it was great. So I mean, that's what I've spent the last 40 years
Right.
complaining about with CDs,
Right.
which I hate CDs.
I know, but look at the increasing percentage of sales of vinyl in the last 5 years.
That's where I'm riding high now. This is not
700%.
like you were saying. This is nothing I planned. It just happened, and now all of a sudden I'm like the vinyl guru, and I travel
you go.
all over the world, and it's the most wonderful thing.
When I went to CES, I saw a guy spend $28,000 on cables.
Sure.
That I mean, he's I swear to God, his turntable was $250,000, and you didn't get a tone arm or a needle. It's being driven a lot by younger kids too.
It is, and
loving-
girls.
Yeah,
It's young women.
is that right?
I was on an airplane with a mother and a daughter, and we started talking. I told them what I did, and the daughter said, "All of my friends have turntables, and I'm getting one when I get home." And the mother said, "Well, I play CDs." And the daughter said, "Mom, you're so old-fashioned."
And the story continues.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I want to talk about your new record now. The bonus track, "The Last Fall," That song absolutely threw me. How come that was a bonus track and not part of the record?
That was a personal letter to my girlfriend, who was going through changes with her boyfriend, her ex, of course. And she was going through a lot of emotional changes with him, and that was my letter of support to Amy.
Yeah. Well, it came through. I mean, what that was about, and that stopped me. It's a wonderful song.
I like to write,
So where that song will only be, it's
only in the deluxe versions too.
but not on the vinyl.
Nope.
So you have to.
And the other two songs are, one of them is "Watch Out for the Wind" that Shane Fontaine and I wrote the morning that Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson, in Missouri. And the other one is "Mississippi Burning" that Shane and I wrote about the 3 college students that were murdered in the 60s in Mississippi, helping black folks vote.
I actually was canvassing for my local, one of my local assemblymen running for office, and one of the houses I knocked on the door, the woman said her nephew was Michael.
With the Michael
one
kid?
of the 3. Yeah, that was really eerie.
Yeah,
You know?
It's an interesting song, "Mississippi Burning." It sounds very different than anything I've ever done.
All of the songs on the record are. I mean, they really. I just think everything you wanted to do, from the songs talking about getting past your past and finding it, you did it, because
Wait till you hear the vinyl.
Well, of course, I can't wait for that. I was listening to probably an MP3 version that the bass was there, but the top end wasn't there. But I'm sure.
No, wait till you hear the vinyl. It's going to sound ridiculously good.
And one of the questions I had here was like, losing yourself at last and finding yourself at last. And I'm trying to say, what are you trying to say about the previous 70 years? I mean, what?
When we were talking earlier about my autobiography, Wild Tales.
Yeah.
It was interesting from the point of view of when I got to the end of it. Right, I can let it go. All right, that's what I did. So what?
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's start tomorrow doing other good stuff. And that's what happened to me. And so I was able to let it go. And that's when I started to write the lines of, and the question haunting me, is my future just my past?
Yeah.
And it's hard to fight my past, because you got to understand, I'm not Graham Nash. I'm not the guy that you see. I'm this guy inside that's still waiting to get found out, that's still, did this really happen to me? I'm not Graham Nash. Of course I am, but I'm not that guy.
I understand, because everybody has preconceived notions of who you are from years of...
Right. And it gets tiresome sometimes when you can't have a normal conversation. Hey, how's your kid doing? What's going,
Right.
They're always saying, where's Neil? How was Woodstock? Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to ask how he is or where he is. I'm just going to say that your connection with him, I find, just from your demeanor on stage, as I don't know you, it seems like that must be a very difficult relationship.
Of course, all relationships are difficult.
Yes, but that one in particular.
Well, the truth is, one of the things about CSN&Y is that there are 4 very strong individuals with egos and abilities and demands and opinions. It is a minefield. It's like Crosby said, CSN&Y. It's like juggling 4 bottles of nitroglycerin, and everything's fine. Until you drop one.
Until it blows up, yeah. And do you plan on making music together as CSN&Y again?
I have no plans right now.
No, because you have this.
Yes.
And this is wonderful.
Well, the truth is that, having spent the last 10 years immersed in the music of me and David and Stephen and Neil, I need a break from them.
Yeah.
This is my year. I want to let people know that not only am I, one of these guys, which was very interesting when I was producing the box set of CSN&Y, because I was the producer, but I was one of those guys I was producing.
Sure.
So I had to keep my ego, definitely away from the 4 of us, But yeah, somebody told me the other day we have over 1,000 songs.
Wow. Wow.
Now, of course, it's not how many, it's, the quality of the songs. But
right.
We've done a lot of music in our lives, but we could have done more. If we'd have been a little less drugged and a little less ego, we could have done more music. And that's why I wrote Wasted on the Way, because there's so much time to make up,
On the other hand, some creativity, some things come out of being high, like you were talking about being at Stonehenge, and that You're very open about that, which was
Well, I'm open because it's well known, that rock and rollers from the 60s and 70s were into drugs, of course. We were into smoking dope and snorting cocaine and all those silly, stupid things.
So were the engineers in the studios, which there were a lot of bad records came out of that.
Everybody was, and the people that sold you records and the people that paid for your records, they were all doing it. It was insane. But that was then, and I don't want to condone, using drugs on anywhere, but it worked for me.
Yeah. So anything else about CES that struck you? You walked around room to room. You didn't bring your recording with you, did you?
Of course.
You did bring it.
Yeah, I wanted to see what it sounded like on $1 million system.
And what format did you bring it in? A file?
Yeah, a high-res file.
And they were able to plug it into the computers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
How did it sound?
It sounded amazing because you were caught in between this great sound and these two speakers that were looking like R2-D2 on
exactly
3 times the size on either side.
Yeah.
Very strange. I mean, some of the designs of some of these new systems are crazy.
Yeah. And were there any surprises compared to what you heard in the studio?
There was one surprise. A speaker maker from Brooklyn, here in New York City. Made the best sounding speakers, and they were only $25,000-$30,000.
Was it John DeVore?
It was John DeVore.
Yeah, he's a really smart young guy. And
well, he had it over some of the bigger systems, I'll tell you, in sound.
Yeah.
Not looks, but sound, and that's what's most important.
Well, of course. Yeah. That's. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that. And how were you received by the?
With great respect. They know our history.
Yeah.
They know our history of trying to make music sound better and more real and more immediate.
Yes, all of your records sound great, and it's something that you're concerned about. Not every artist is concerned about that, which doesn't make any sense to me.
But we've always been concerned about how the music sounds, of course.
But to you, it makes complete sense, but to a lot of them, they don't care, and they make bad-sounding records, which makes no sense to me.
Rock on.
Anyway, thank you so much for talking with me.
You're very welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey.
Here we are.
Are you still there?
I think they're still there.
Have they been listening to us all this time?
They will soon. Yes, they have. They've been listening to the whole thing.
Did we say anything that was...
I think everything that was said was perfectly above board. Can we say something underboard?
Sure.
What?
Underboard.
Underboard. So my Analog Planet readers are very loyal. They are absolute music fanatics, and they all believe in supporting artists by buying the physical medium.
It's incredibly important, especially in the business nowadays, yes.
It is, because that's how artists, touring is where the money is now, but why shouldn't the money also be, when you make a good record, why shouldn't you make money from that too?
I agree. When you spend $500,000 making a record and children expect it for free, it's...
This didn't start.
Doesn't work.
It didn't start. So here I am with Graham Nash, and I hope you enjoyed that interview. I'm amazed that he must have answered these questions many, 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 many times, but he was completely forthcoming, and you're a true gentleman for being able to focus and come up with these stories and present them in a way that sounds completely fresh, as if you're thinking of it for the first time.
Sometimes I am.
Well,
but it's been an incredible life, and to share it with people like I'm doing with this new record of mine, This Path Tonight. It's my emotional journey that's happening to me right now. My life is in a little turmoil.
Yes.
It's chaotic.
And you shared that with the audience on Monday night with us.
I share my life with my audience all the time.
And they love you for that.
I think so.
They do, because when the show was over, people were floating out of the theater.
I'm glad you were there.
I'm glad I was there too. Everybody was really happy with it.
Thank you, Mike.
So, Analog Planet readers, thanks for tuning in.